Hey, Nozzle, what's going on, buddy? It has been a crazy busy day. Hey, Alex. I'm assuming you're new because I don't remember or recall seeing you in any live streams. But welcome. Glad to have you. Just a few more minutes or so, let people find their way in. Oh, okay, smoke. Okay, I got you. Been a wild day in the market today, and I think yesterday, yesterday too. I'm still really salty we missed TNT, but I mean that's just the way it goes. I think we may have mentioned GTO late last week too, just in chat. We didn't make it an official call because I think we had too many coins already that we were looking at. But that was another one that went crazy on us. While we're waiting a few more minutes on some people to come in, I'm just kind of scanning my watch list on Binance right now. Oaks, I think, is another one that we looked at this morning. Steam needs to get its ass moving to get some steam under it. Data is, of course, sitting at the bottom. Some of these coins really need to start moving here. Alright, let's go ahead and, well, let me check one more thing real quick. Okay, let's begin. Alright, so Vibe, as everybody knows, was a call earlier last week, I believe it was. Crazy day that it's had. Major pump. I know we were expecting some kind of update out of them on the 31st, and we didn't get it, or we didn't see it because we kind of just stopped watching it. But I think it was on the 5th or so, somewhere in here, I think, is when we stopped watching it. Because I think we caught a scalp up here, and then we were waiting for this zone right here for a buy-in or a rebuy, or maybe it was up here somewhere. And then we just kind of forgot about it. But I know it was recently that we last looked at this. Obviously not way back here, because this is when we played it in September off a monstrous cup and handle that was very profitable for us. But this was definitely a missed opportunity. We shouldn't have kept our eyes on it, because it looks like around the 10th, between the 7th and the 10th, is when the last update on it was, and when we last watched it. And then, of course, had we just waited a whole 5 more days, about, well, let's just say up here, because I think I was looking for about 780, 770 something. So if we had just waited 5 more days, a wonderful 135% jump that we completely missed. Hey Keith, what's going on? So there is an opportunity to scalp this, at least. So this isn't quite done. Of course, it's still got some downtime to come. So if we are looking for a scalp, let's see. Let's zoom in here to the 2 hour here. Okay, so we did get the bear cross on the MACD. Phalanx did give the symbol, sell signal somewhere up here. Now this whole candle right here was an 18% drop, so I highly doubt it called the top of this. So let's just assume that it put a sell signal somewhere in the middle or something. I don't know. So you might have lost 9% in getting out there, assuming that we had caught the bottom. All right, so for a support zone, we got one right here. There's a little one right here. You see the tops of these candles here and the bottoms of these candles here form a nice little zone right there. So we got a support zone here. I don't think this may be deep enough. You can see right now we got a small bounce here off of the 20-day moving average. Hourly is trying to hold. Now you see the difference between how these candles were coupled up like this compared to the 2 hour. So right here, these candles right here, because we're on the 2 hour time frame now, if we drop down to the 1 hour, you can see it kind of fan out a little bit more for this first support zone that it is in. But this is not going to hold. This is no way in any kind of shape or form is this going to hold. This is just a smaller bounce on a smaller time frame that this is doing. I bet you if we go to 15 minute, see right here, 15 minute is just showing this little bounce. And you can see how these candles fan out as we went to a lower time frame to show more of a solid base support here and this little top of a resistance zone here. So this box is a very nice support zone, and as you see on the 15 minute, this gray line is our 200-day moving average. So I do not expect this little zone to hold, especially not on a 15-minute time frame. Not a chance in hell. Hourly, of course, is not going to hold either. And then you can see 3 hour is definitely curling a lot more bearish. Now you can see how much more room this has to go down on the 3 hour. Now, given that Vibe has, let me see, I can't find it anymore. Did it just like drop off? Okay, so right now, after this nice big huge monstrous pump, it's only showing, Binance is only showing it up 5% on 24-hour percent change. But it has 4,800 Bitcoin volume. So this is no doubt going to come down slow because of the volume. So the bots are crazy and flipping it on much smaller time frames, and they're going to slowly bring this down. They're not going to just kill it and just drop it just yet. So I would be looking here for a scalp play first. This is a pretty solid support on most any time frame, because beneath that you're pretty much going all the way back down here, which is also probable on a much higher time frame coming back down for a correction. I wouldn't expect to see this if it even comes down to this range. I wouldn't expect to see this support right here back under 1,000 for, I don't know, 2 days or 3 days or so. Okay, so if you're looking for a scalp play, I would certainly look in this box here, because if you guys remember me talking about when a price on lower time frames is coming down, now here on the 12 hour, the 7-day moving average is still coming up. So we're going to watch here. I'm going to watch for a candle over the next however many hours come down, and wherever, probably right here at about 1100 Satoshi or so, roughly, because the top of this candle and the bottom of this candle here, I would expect this 7-day moving average to meet the price action and then push it up for a bounce. Yeah, fib tracements. Yeah, you. Sorry, I always forget fibs because, I mean, fibs are really just kind of based on support zones. So here we're kind of right in the dead center of the golden pocket here between the 0.618 and the 786. Well, it's not 100%, but right there, because you want to go from the bottom of the impulse. So this is a golden pocket zone right here in between these two candles where they meet, roughly around 1100 or so. I would expect this 7-day moving average to come up as the price comes down. So you can catch a bounce there. And note that our 7-day moving average is still bullish because it is still going up. So I expect it to come up and then it'll come over and come down. So this will happen over the next few days, not going to happen anytime soon. So if you're looking for a scalp, you can watch it as it comes near this 1100 zone and then watch for a sale probably right back here at the bottom of this wick. So let's make a little note here. Watch support zone around 11. By scalp. 7MA has not rounded out on the 12-hour. Scalp potential from 1100 sats up to you could probably play this back up to about 1200 to 1277. Well, that is a pretty big gap though, isn't it? About 5.5%. Okay, so for a scalp, if you were to catch this, you could possibly get, you know, anywhere from 10 to 15, 17% out of it. So we just watch and see how it develops over time. But there is no doubt, given the looks of even just the 2-hour, how this has, the 7MA has rounded out like this. So obviously we're coming down. So we're going to find support somewhere in this box. And look where 1100 is, right at the bottom of these these 4 candles, quite perfectly. So I'm going to put this black line, I'm going to make this a black line right there so it kind of stands out and make it a little bit thicker. Okay, so we want to watch for a scalp play down to here, and then we might catch it back up to here at about 13. Ooh, that might be a little high. Well, that might be also possible too. We don't want to rule that out. It might bounce back up to the top of this candle, which means the bottom of this candle, the bottom of this wick, and over here. So it may bounce a little bit higher than what the 12-hour suggests, because on the 12-hour, we're up here at the top of these candles. So you really want to just watch to see when the 7-day moving average rounds out and starts to fall. When you see it kind of make that top and round, start selling. That's when you want to get out, because it's not going to go much higher than that. Because again, this is only a bounce that we're looking for. So a conservative bounce, you can put, see, this is definitely too low for a bounce. So we may see somewhere in this zone. you could see something to this extent. Because this did go 135%, it would not be too far-fetched to say that this could pop back anywhere from 15 to 20% for a scalp play. But we'll watch to see how this develops. But right now, I wouldn't touch it until we come down into this zone. I don't like to play scalps on pumped coins on smaller time frames because they can go either direction really quick and you can get locked into something. Let me see what you got here, Nuzzle. Let me see what you're sharing. Oh, we're looking at Tomo. Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll do Tomo. We'll get to that. What time frame are you looking at for your 5-wave impulse, Keith? 1, 2, 3. I would almost not really. I really don't see a 5-wave impulse here on the 6-hour. You can consider this a 1 and a 2 because it did not come down. 5-minute or 15-minute. Get out of here with those little time frames. You crazy. Damn 15-minute charts. Alright, so assuming, I hope you're not counting this as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, that's kind of ugly. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a 5. No, that doesn't work either. Knowing Elliott waves are not my thing. You got me trying to do Elliott waves. See, I'm not a huge fan of this. If you got one, Keith, if you got a count, you can share it. I'm assuming that you went from this bottom here and counted this as a 1 and a 2, a 3, and a 4, and a 5 up here or something. I mean, that's... I mean, even if you drew the 4-wave out here or something, that's a really ugly 5-wave count. Don't even really see it on hourly either for a full 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A little clearer on the hourly if you were to do 5 waves. And then you get a A, and then a B, and then a C. Knowing I hate damn Elliott waves, and you got me out here trying to do Elliott waves. Okay, so this is what I'm going to look at right now on Vibe as far as just simple price action with supports and resistances. I like this as a support zone because it is a support zone. And as we saw, even when we're throwing out a fib line, this is in a golden pocket between the 0.618 and the 0.786 fibs. So this is a very nice support zone. So eventually we will no doubt test this. So I would be looking probably either for the top of this at 1160 or so down to 1100 for your buy-in on a scalp. So we'll keep this in mind and we'll watch this and see how it develops on that scalp. Okay, let's move on to Doc. Doc has finally been doing something. I know everybody has been waiting on it. I have been waiting on it, and I have like just kept it drilled in my head for about a week now. Because obviously you see what happens when you leave a coin for a week and you just forget about it. This happens, 100-something%. Okay, so Doc, let's go out to daily here. Okay, so Doc, what's up, Doc? Caden, don't make me punch you, okay? Doc is not dead. Your face is dead. Deal with that. Okay, so Doc has, even from its bottom of inception, all the way back in August, September here, never broke its low. So this was the low in August. Here is the low now in January. So it's never made a lower low here, minus wherever the hell this wick was. But whoever caught that wick, well, you're not up that much anyways. Okay, so what we're looking for on Doc, this is the daily. So if we're zooming in here, this is a nice push on the 7-day moving average. I don't like how it's kicking up the 20-day right there. See how they're like kind of pushing against each other in the same direction? I don't like that. I would have liked to have seen the 20-day just kind of ride out a little bit more flat with the 7-day crossing it. So let's... the 3-day though, the 3-day is what I've been really watching. Okay, so see here on the 3-day, look at our MACD. We got our bull cross, we got our bullish histogram, so 3-day looks really nice on the MACD. Of course, the Stoch RSI has got a nice little uptrend as well. RSI is still relatively flat. It's under 40 still, or right at 40. So it still has a lot more room to go if it gets some more of an uptrend. And of course, we see the 7-day rounding up here. So we need to watch to see if the price stays under the 20-day moving average here on the 3-day, or if it continues up. Right now, we're showing a lot of bullish strength. If we hop to 2-day, Phalanx is posting bullish divergence. It's a little exaggerated. Price makes a lower low. RSI relatively remains flat. Okay, and again, uptrend. Now, currently this candle is pinched between the 7-MA and the 20-day moving average. So that's something that we also want to see break. And then here on 12-hour, here on 12-hour, the 100-day moving average is the same as the 20-day moving average on the daily and 2-day and all that wonderful mess. So again, we still want to see price break, but we did see a nice break over the 20-day moving average on the 12-hour. And so far, we don't want to see a rejection. Let me look at the order books real quick here. Let's see what we got. Now, I've been watching the books all day. No, I don't want to log in. Just take me to the default Binance. Thank you. Alright, so I've been watching this all day as this has moved up. I've been watching it here once we broke and held above the 20-day moving average from the 220s. And I watched the bids as the price moved up, so did the bids. So whales were pushing the bids up to push the price up, and then we started taking down walls, and we saw a high of 261. So we took down whatever wall was up here, and now we have another accumulation wall here for the lower time frames. So we really got to get back above 250. We really got to break this. See, this doesn't look like a whole lot here. You got very nice bid support, just a few small tiny walls. So it's got to get some more buying pressure to knock down this. Once we knock down the 250s, I would probably suspect some good FOMO coming in up to about, you know, the 280s, the 300s, which is where I was looking at for the first major correction. So 300 would put us right up around here, close to the 200-day moving average on the 12-hour. And if you look, let's draw a little horizontal line here at about 300. If you look where this resistance line is for a sell target, let me just delete these two here. We're kind of right in the middle of a bunch of candles and a bunch of confluence here, and here, all the way across. So this is a good resistance zone right here underneath the 200-day moving average. So right now we're still bullish. Got to get some more buying pressure. But other than that, I'm going to target still stand. So this is one that I'm still going to watch. I'm not going to let this one go before it pulls a vibe on us. If it drops, then, well, okay, then I sell and I just reload lower. But right now we're still holding pretty strong. Steam. Steam is another one that has given me a headache. But again, like Vibe, it's got some struggle. Alright, so let's go to the daily on Vibe, or Steam, excuse me. We did Vibe. Where is the rest of the history here? Okay, so you see where the overall chart is. We are at the bottom, and we have held this zone all of December. And we're finally getting that uptrend that we have been looking for. Steam, I hadn't seen any announcements on it today. They were supposed to have a test net. I hadn't really seen any updates on that. But we did break the downtrend when we touched this trend line here, just ever so slightly right here, and then we went to sideways consolidation. So if anybody's wondering, this is what Myth is doing right now. Okay, this could be quite similar to what Myth is doing. Myth had that first nice little pop, and then it came down and down and down, and we're waiting on Myth to round out. So now on Steam, we're looking right here at these moving averages. They're getting closer together, suggesting that selling is cooling off. So we want to watch for some further pushes here. Wifey's so awesome. She brought me dinner. She made me dinner. Alright, it's 3-day Steam. We are sandwiched like a son of a bitch right here between the 7-day and the 20-day. So this is going to do one of two things. Either we are going to break above and we are going to really see a nice uptrend because this looks like one heck of a spring, or we're going to spring down because we can't break the 20-day moving average. But right now, it would seem so far that everything is quite bullish, even though this is a real pain in the ass to get through. We need to break this little wedge pattern here first. We've got to see a break above this. So let's zoom down into lower time frames. Okay, so here on the 12-hour, see what I'm doing here, guys? I'm bouncing between time frames to give myself an overall idea of direction. Okay, so when we zoomed out here to the daily, okay, and we saw we plotted this trend line, and then we saw price move away from the trend line. So this is suggesting when we're moving away from the trend line here that we bottomed. Okay, it's because we're not obviously further going down unless Bitcoin hits the bed again. But 3 touches on this trend line, that's a very long trend line, and then we pushed away from the trend line, suggesting that we rounded out and found a bottom, and now we are looking for a break of resistance to reverse. So the overall trend needs to reverse. Okay, so now we're in this little wedge pattern here. This could very well, as we've seen a million times, our coiling effect. So this could be a possibility and one to watch. So we may get a short pop up here on the MACD if this follows a similar pattern here. We may one more deeper reset and then it's game on. And I think we saw this on another coin too that ended up going like, I don't know, 1,000% or something. Exaggerating, but of course, but it broke out. So this is what I'm going to be watching for on Steam, because like Vibe, the day that they were supposed to have an announcement, they didn't have an announcement, but as we saw today, a few days later, it broke out and just went apeshit for no reason. So I want to see if Steam does the same thing. Of course, targets still stand. I don't see them on this chart anymore, so I don't know where they went. So we're going to put one there. Got some tops of candles here. Maybe somewhere around in here. And this 200-day moving average might come down and test it there. So there's a first target there. And what I really want to see to feel confident is I want to see a breakout of this wedge. And I want to see us push above it. I want to see us hit this target here because that would confirm that the downtrend is broken. So we may, if we get a little pop, we may come up here, test this resistance zone up here, and then come back down for a backline test like we saw on Loom, what Loom is doing right now. So this could be a possibility, or like TNT did today, it just shoots, you know, 70% and blows right through all targets. But so we played, either way we played the zones. So we got another resistance zone right up here because you got these tops right here, which line up with these bottoms right here. So this is a good little resistance zone there. And I think we had plotted some targets here before. But we're just going to plot them again, no biggie. And then our last resistance zone, because you got all of these tops and it lined up with the bottom here, and you got bottoms here. Okay, so if Steam, for whatever reason, dies, there's probably no chance in hell for it. Because it'll probably drop all the way down to about 50% of what it is if it were to meet this trend line again, which would probably ultimately kill the project. But something to note here, like in this wedge pattern, how the price is doing this coiling effect, you can see it here on the MACD as well. And I'm looking right here. Oh, not horizontal line. And I'm looking right there. Okay, so you can draw trend lines on MACDs as well, and you see it respecting the trend line 3 different times, making a higher low. At the same time, the MACD is making a lower high. So this is ultimately doing the same thing. So we want to see some kind of coiling effect on the MACD as well. Plus, nice little buy signal on phalanx as well. So this is another one I'm not going to let go of. I'll continue to watch this and see what it does and develops. And then we'll just keep updating it as it goes along too. Because this, what happened today with Vibe is, I think, the 4th time now that we charted a coin and then a few days or a week goes by, we all forget about it because we want to chase something else, and then we turn our head and like, oh shit, we looked at that coin last week, we were in it last week, it just went up 100 and something %, and we missed it because Strat did it, of course Waves did it, even though Waves was kind of different because Bitcoin just destroyed us on that drop. And MTL, if anybody remembers that fiasco, there's another one that we were waiting on. Bitcoin drop, stopped us all out, took the coin down, and then the next bottom just pumped like 150% or something. So this is like the 4th time that we missed a play like Vibe because we gave up on it. Okay, so let's look at some Loom. I just saw a really big bullish candle on Loom, so this is another one that I was waiting on. Thank you, Jesus. Do I still have Loom? Let me check my... yep, I still got Loom. I don't have a big position in it because I'm kind of more big in Doc right now. Hey, Clyde. Okay, so Loom was another one that we were following quite heavy, and we did play this this wedge pattern here. We did break out of it, and look, we caught a perfect second sell zone right here. And I think most of us played this. I think I sold 1390 something, and then I forgot about it. Just kind of gave up on the coin because, you know, we moved on. I think I sold this one here though. But anyways, so you see the price, see how it broke out of this wedge pattern from this high and this wick. Now, of course, this wasn't here, so this was our wedge pattern that we had to draw to spot a breakout. And then we got a breakout, and this technically right here is a backline test there, and then this wasn't really supposed to come all the way back down for a full reset, but now that you see that it did, so now we got another full reset, and we see that we are breaking out. And I think I got this one back. Let me check my log here. 1177 was my buy-in here, so I didn't get the bottom here at 1140. It was about right there. So, I mean, that's good enough. So, I see a lot of you guys, it's like, oh, it's up, you know, 4 or 5%. It's already pumping. I'm going to leave it. I didn't catch the bottom. No, you guys got to stop thinking so small because you didn't catch the absolute bottom. Because when you zoom out and you are looking long-term picture, why are these still here? I delete these every time and they never stay deleted. Okay, anyways, not the point. But if you zoom out and you're looking at the bigger picture of Loom, we're still way down here. I mean, look at all of this room that it's got to go. I mean, just lots and lots of room. So if you don't catch the absolute bottom and you're buying 5–10% up off the bottom and you're zooming out and looking at that much space to go, buy it. This is still the bottom. This is still the bottom, and you see going all the way back to November, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tests now to break below 1140, 1130 range, and or 11, whatever these wicks are, but the candle closes are up here at 1140, and 6 times never broke below. So we're looking for a spring effect here now. Oops. Okay, so MACD, very shallow reset on the MACD because you could see it snaked up and curled up. It was not just going to keep going up. There had to be some kind of reset. It didn't have to be very big. You see another one right here. So this was a pretty good rise. Quick reset on the MACD, and then it uptrended again, quick reset, and now we're bullish again. So daily is very bullish. That is a very nice daily candle, and as always, we are looking for 20-day to come out here or something, and we want to see the 7 MA cross above the 20. I mean, it may not go flat like that. Obviously, the 20-day is going to move up and curl too, but nonetheless, daily got a fresh candle break on the MACD. Phalanx, of course, gave the buy signal somewhere on this candle, which was yesterday. So yesterday, somewhere in here, Phalanx gave a buy. Okay, so now we got to relook at the targets that we've already visited. So now this target up here at 1430, 1440 is still valid. It still stands, and it's still a very stubborn resistance, as you can see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 attempts now we have failed to break above it. So this was a lot of consolidation underneath 1440. So this could finally be, who knows, we'll see. Now that we got a little bit of a reset on the MACD, this could be the catalyst and the spring to launch us up and pull, you know, a TNT, a vibe type pump, and we catch a wick all the way up here or something to about 1800, 1775 or something. But we still got to break this zone here, so I'm going to yes, Clyde, yeah. It happens every time we see, and this is the thing that you can do in cases like that. Okay, let me shoot back to Vibe real quick since you said that. So Clyde said he held Vibe for a week, scalped it a few times, got tired of waiting, and then obviously he dumped it. Okay, so in that sense, when you are looking at a coin, so even here, when we were looking at Vibe right around here, Vibe is still overall relatively bottom, okay? Just like Loom, just like Doc, just like Steam, just even Wanchain and any other coin. So even though we are relatively still at the bottom and you scalp this and scalp this, you don't have to give up on it because you know the overall trend is going bullish. Okay, so you can look at the MACD here. So the MACD itself, the whole structure of the MACD is moving upwards. It's moving bullish. So you got a very small reset here, and you got a small, well, somewhat of a reset there, and another one there. So the overall trend was still bullish. So you could have scalped the absolute bejesus out of this and just kept scalping it. And then in this structure here, okay, so this goes about 25% from this 20-day moving average here up to, about the 100-day moving average there. So if you identified that we are at a bottom, the overall trend is looking bullish, okay, so you found your buy-in down here off of a support. Now you can zoom into the 15-minute or so, and you have phalanx. Everybody, mostly has phalanx. And you could have, in this same 20-30% zone here, where is my brush? I always lose my brush. You could have scalped some of these and probably held through all of this. There's another scalp, scalp, play this wave, scalp, scalp, scalp. And you could have played all of these smaller waves. So within this same 28% range, you probably could have made 50 to 60%. Oops. You probably could have made 50 to 60% and still would have been holding at this bottom here for the big launch. So now that 60% profit you made, you just made another 130% profit on top of that profit, if that makes sense. And you could have done this with just even a portion of your portfolio. You didn't have to go all in and then scalping it and get tired of scalping it, waiting on something else that could pump 30-40%. You could have taken 25% of your portfolio and built your scalping bag up on this coin and just kept flipping and flipping, and then you would have been in with a bigger bag than you started with, and then you would have been right on time for the big pump. And this is what I'm doing with Doc. I don't have 20 Bitcoins in Doc because this still is quite a risky play. I'm actually playing quite small. I maybe have $2,000 or something in Doc right now. So that's a small bag. Well, for me, anyways, whatever. But what I'm doing is I am trying to catch some of these scalps. Now I'm not going to catch every single top and rebuy every single bottom. I don't care. Because if I'm scalping and I'm picking up, 10-20% extra coins before the big launch, well, I'm just picking up, extra coins, free money basically, and I'm just holding and building that bag up. So over time, as Doc moves up and does all these little waves or whatever and moves up, I'm just going to keep scalping and flipping that same $2,000 that I started with, and by the time it gets up here, it may be, let's see, this is a what? So here's about 100% pump right here. So if I got $2,000 down here and I'm scalping these smaller waves and I scalp for 20%, now I got $2,200. I catch the 100% pump or something if it goes that high, or even if it does this wave up here. By the time it goes up here, well, that's $4,400. Unless I catch a few more smaller subwaves to reach this major resistance zone up here. So if I just had $2,000 here and I bought and held and swing traded it all the way up here and didn't sell it all, okay, great, I doubled my money. That's still great. But if you put a bag and you want to build that position by scalping on the smaller time frames and catching all the small subwaves up, you could potentially take that same $2,000 and turn it into $5,000 or $5,500 by the time you reach this same zone where it would have only been $4,000. So you don't have to go all in on and just wait for that coin to just pump and pump and pump. Because, I mean, you could be holding that one coin while watching everything else pump, and you may not get your turn. Then you'll dump that coin you're in and then move on to something else, and then that coin you just dumped will pump, because that's what we've seen over and over and over so far. All right, so go Loom, make me proud. So I got a small bag in Loom too. I probably, got about another 1,000, 2,000, 1,500 or something in Loom. So it's not as big of a bag as Doc. But again, as Loom moves up and starts hitting some of these resistances, I'm going to drop down now that I know the overall bigger picture trend is bullish. So now you can drop down to the 15-minute or the hour or even 30-minute and have a nice happy medium between the 15 and hourly. And you can scalp off of the 13-minute. Or I'm not 13-minute, 30-minute, excuse me. So now we're up in this bullish uptrend. So this is my first target. This is what I've identified as my first resistance zone here. So I'm going to watch what price action does as it reaches this zone. So again, if Loom comes up here and touches this zone, and if I see a struggle or a rejection, then I'll sell some of my bag. You don't want to dump the whole thing, okay? Don't dump your whole bag at a resistance zone, because it could pump up to this next one. So I'll probably sell half my bag here, again, assuming that we catch a rejection here. So I'll probably sell half my bag here, and then watch how the moving average develops and find a support zone, probably right around here, and then rebuy, and then just play the waves. So that's how, you play the zones, you build your bag, you don't go all in, and because if I'm all in on this coin and this one drops at the same time I got a bag in Steam that pumps, well, my overall portfolio doesn't look as bad than if I just went out all in on Loom and it drops. Well, now my whole portfolio is down. Okay, anyways, let's move on. Yeah, I'll check Myth and Fuel. We'll get to those two. And Con, if you say Doc is dead one more time, I'm going to, punch you in the throat or something and steal your dogs. Okay, so Data is another one that we are looking at. Holy shit, what the hell just happened to Data right there? Okay, last I looked at this, Data was right around here at 490. So look at this perfect touch off of the 100-day moving average here. I think I caught a rebuy at 494. I wish I would have caught this, but this happened way too fast. But Data, if you zoom out to daily, well, it looks exactly like the 4-hour. Oh, no, it doesn't. There it goes. Yes, I'll get to Myth in just a second here. Myth, I know, is one that we've also been watching and waiting on to bottom out. Okay, so again, let's first note the MACD on the Data, or on Data rather. Okay, like we saw on the other coins, bouncy, bouncy, bouncy uptrend, and then it had to reset at some point. It does not have to be a deep reset, just something to reset. Okay, so we got a reset, and now we have a fresh MACD break. Oops, excuse me. And you see what happens here with the MACD reset. We also got a Stoch RSI or Stock RSI, whatever, reset as well. So this is showing a lot of uptrend potential. And you see how we are coiled like Loom underneath the 100-day moving average. Okay, note the price action here. We got a low a higher low, a higher low, and a higher low. So data is consistently making a higher low, at the same time kind of wedging itself. Okay, one little break above here, but the majority of the candles and wicks are underneath this wedge pattern. So now we are testing and we're coming up and we need to break above this zone. So we are going to watch to see if it breaks above or if we reject one more time around 5:30 or so and fall back down to test and consolidate back off the bottom of the trend line. Let's see what 3-day shows. 3-day is, well, I think that's my line. Nope. Okay, so 3-day is still good too. 3-day has a really strong push. The 7-day over the 20, so this is a really nice strong push. 2-day as well, and you see we held support here off of the 20-day moving average. Perfect touch right here, which happened probably just a few minutes ago. Got a perfect touch and a perfect bounce. So now we're moving up. So let's look at some targets for data. Holy crap, where'd all this... Man, we got a long way to go to get back up to the top there. Very long way to get back to the top. I'm sure everybody would love to see that. Okay, some realistic targets anyways. So obviously we have to break this zone. So we got to break above this 525, 530 zone. Some heavy confluence right here because you see all the bottoms of these candles. Top of wicks here and then just move across. I got all these tops. See how they all just kind of line up if you were to draw a line? This is how you can identify a support or a resistance zone. Or a target rather. Okay, so you can see that a little bit better there. All of these candles nestling, resting right on top of this black line. At the same time, these are stopping, and these are all stopping beneath. These are stopping beneath. You get the idea. Okay, so here's another one because we got the same thing here. Feel like DJ Khaled. And another one. Okay, so if anybody is in data, we got to break this first target first. And then we come up here. And if by chance it does pull like a TNT vibe type breakout like everything else apparently is to, this week, because it seems that everything is pumping, you know, 70–80%. This would be the ultimate place to take profits right around about 1,000. Right around 1,000 to, let's just say 1,050 Satoshis. So this would be roughly an absolute top for data if we break these other two resistances. Because if you look, there's really not much else right here. You got something very small right here. Well, this matches up with the top of this wick. But other than that, once you break this, there's really nothing in this whole zone. So you got 40% potential of easy money because there's really nothing to consider as a resistance zone right there. So this, we break this, this is just easy money. It's flying. Okay, so that's what we got for data. Now, before everybody has a heart attack, let me do myth real quick. Okay, all these lines. Alright, myth. Not really seeing an end in sight so far. It looked like it wanted to here, because this is what we were looking for. We were wanting to see it round out right there because it looked like it started to. You can see the price forming a little base right there. I'm not sure if another Bitcoin dip happened. Oh, yes, of course, because this was Christmas Eve right here. This is Christmas Day that we caught that nice little screw you little people dip from the whales. So we're still heavy in a downtrend. We're not seeing a whole lot of end in sight. This is not looking pretty. We're actually not doing too bad. But what we want to see is we still need to see rounding out here. We got to see pulling away from this trend line and see the price action move sideways like we did here with Steam. This is why I was saying Myth reminds me a lot of Steam, because this is what Myth is doing. Down, 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 and then it caught you know, a little bottom here with the pump, and then down again. Not saying that Myth will do that. So here's our little pump on Myth, and then down, 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 down. I mean, we really got to see this start to round out, because I mean, right now it's not looking too pretty. Okay, lower time frames. That was the daily, by the way. So here we're starting to see this pull away here. So this is good. Okay, so see how we got a touch this wick and these candle bottoms, these candle bottoms, these candle bottoms, candle bottoms. Okay, so all of these were a good place to draw a trend line from, and then you just extend the trend line down, and then we caught a wick just above it there. But here we see the price pulling away from this trend line now. So this is a good sign. MACD is looking a little bullish here. You can see these histograms here, they're getting shorter and lighter in color. So we got light pink histograms, and they're getting shorter. No buy signal yet here on phalanx. Let's zoom into a 4-hour. 4-hour looks a lot better. 4-hour is suggesting that we may catch a bullish cross. Here we're posting a bullish divergence. So our price here is making a lower low, and our RSI is exaggerated. RSI is this middle line, by the way, guys. I have 4 different indicators combined into one on this one indicator here, but this middle line is the same as just if you went up here and you did RSI. So it's basically this kind of thrown into that. So if you guys are just looking at a regular RSI, that's the same thing. Okay, but we do get the bullish divergence signal on phalanx. I'm looking for a cross here. I like the histogram. Let's see, that was 4-hour, and we did 6-hour, 12-hour. Holy crap. Look how far away that is. Okay, so here we are again with the same scenario that we've seen. The MACD line, nice big push, and then a small reset, and now we're creeping up again, and now we're finally seeing the first set of bearish histograms for a reset. So this is good because we need a reset so we can continue the uptrend. Now, this does not mean that the MACD is going to continue back down again and then come up. It's just going to continue on its snaky path up. So this doesn't, looking from this 4-hour here, let's look at, where's, okay, so Myth, let's look at the order books. Okay, so the order books, obviously a lot of resistance way back up here, but we got some room to pump back to about 1485 off of this cliff or mountain, I guess you can say. Got some pretty decent bids right here. Not a whole lot back here though, but I mean that's just the way it goes. Usually if we're catching an uptrend like we saw on Doc, they'll be stacked up here near the current price to force buyers up. So you got one wall right here at 1485 right there, and then let's look what's behind it. Not really a whole lot until you get back into the mid to upper 1500s. which is, well, back here somewhere. So this does have some room to go. Needs some more volume though. We only got 220 Bitcoin volume on it. Where's my chart? So if you are in this, I hope you have a stop loss. But so far this 4 hour might catch a push. Some decent buying pressure and it looks good. If you zoom into 3 hour, slightly more bullish. So if you're in this, I would have a stop loss here at this black line right here. Oops, I just deleted my stop loss line. Okay, so if you're in this, I'd have a stop loss right here about 14.45 or so, just in case it breaks below that. If it breaks below that, it could come down and either test this divergence line again, which seems to be another trend line, or it'll come back down and test the bigger trend line. So just be very, very, very careful with Myth right now. It's got to get some buying pressure to stop this downtrend. I just can't believe how much that is just dropped. That's nuts. Okay, so that's what I see on Myth right now. Be cautious if you're in it, please. But right now it is building a little shelf right here. So if it holds this support off of above 1445, 1450 or so, if it holds above this zone, it should be okay. All right, WAN chain. Let me see what Loom is doing real quick. Okay, so Loom looks like it may catch a little bit. Okay, so Loom looks like it may want to catch just a wee bit of a drop, judging by that candle, unless this is going to build a new base right here, because RSI looks like it curled over, so that's not a very good sign. So we'll just watch that there. Anyways, let's move on to WAN, because WAN is another one that I've been watching. WAN is another one of those coins that is at the bottom, and we don't want to lose sight of it either, because look where it's at. I know you got to get out of this little box frame here when you're thinking the bottom, and look way up here to see just how far WAN has gone and bottomed. So this has a whole lot of room to go. So again, like with Doc and like with Loom, what you could do to build your long-term bag is, this looks like a good area, if you're not already in WAN, to look at laddering in WAN or opening a bag. Even if you bought just a little bit higher, around that 850. Yeah, everybody WAN chain tonight. WAN chain tonight, excuse me. And something to note right here is, look at the MACD. Again, uptrend, reset. And this is what I'm looking for on Loom right here. So Loom is catching this little bullish pump here, and then it might come back down for a smaller reset, and then it's off to Mars or something. Okay, so our MACD looks good here. Instagram is getting shorter, and it's lighter in color. 1, 2, 3 bounces off the trend line, and here we pulled away. I think I had my trend line just a little bit further out like that there, because we were catching some deeper candles there and a wick there and these bottoms here. So I think I was actually really only looking for 800, but it looks like we dipped just below it, and I was fearful of this because I was really hoping 800 would hold. But here we are, and this looks like a third and perfect touch off of the bottom here. So now I want WAN. I want the 7-day to round out and come back up, and it looks like it will do that given the looks of this 12-hour chart or 12-hour MACD here. So the only thing missing there is the buy signal from Phalanx. Okay, so 6 hours showing that it's not done consolidating either. So I would say, you know, between 820 and I don't know 790 or something is a good buy. So this zone right here looks like a good loading spot. Daily bullish divergent signal, and look at the MACD here. So we got a lighter histogram here, but we still need to see the MACD roll over. So just like the moving average, we want to see the MACD line curl over as well. So WAN is not done yet. Still a little bit more time to consolidate, which is fine because that means we have time to play some other coins, something else that may pump, and see what happens there. And our targets still stand. So we got a resistance zone up here. This is going to be a first heavy resistance because the bottom of these candles here, tops here, and then a second zone up here. But if WAN decides to do what every other alt is doing and goes on that 100% run, ooh, I don't know if it'll go that high because you got a 200-day moving average here. But it does have the potential to come up and creep up to this zone. It may catch a wick above it, and the candle may stop somewhere, you know, in that zone there. But this is a long shot. This is a swing trade, depending on just what price action does. Okay. Last one, Zilliqa. Damn, see, man, y'all making me miss a scalp. Y'all killing me here. Okay, anyways, Zilliqa. And this was updated 6 hours ago here, because when I was looking for the symbol, like I do, you know, before I, you know, post whatever coin that we're looking at, I was just looking for the Zilliqa symbol and saw that they actually had news out 6 hours ago that they released an update ahead of their mainnet launch, which is supposed to be the end of this month. And I think because of this news, this happened. So this happened on Zill today, and probably in reference to that update, which I'm kind of going to call bullshit on that, because if it was 6 hours ago, it would have been somewhere on this candle, but we got 4.5 hours left in this candle. So okay, this might have been a pre-pumped thing ahead of that news, but whatever. Okay, so anyways, let's look at daily, see how we are looking. Okay, and again, MACD, up, 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 nice push, and then a reset. Wasn't much of a reset, but it was a reset to continue the overall trend. Noza, I think CoinMarketCal, like calendar, so it's CoinMarketCal, has, let's go to it real quick, I'll show you. It has upcoming news and stuff on any coin, so if we were to type in the coin. Okay, you use this one too. So I'm actually curious now that we're here when the mainnet is. Okay, so Zilliqa's mainnet is on the 31st. I'm sure there are other sites that have news and updates or whatever. I just can't think of any off the top of my head. Okay, so for Zill though, daily got a fresh break. I don't know what's going on with this Stoch RSI right here, though. This is in a falling wedge of some kind here. Okay, so I would watch this Stoch RSI here and see what happens when it hits the top of this trend line here. As you see that it's making a lower high. And this is some kind of weird, funky little pattern thing there. I don't like that, but whatever. Okay, so there's a bit of a struggle right here to get a nice close above the 200-day moving average. If it does, we need to get a little bit higher, at least up to this line here, because you got tops of these candles, top of this wick, bottom of this candle, and the tops here. So this is going to be a first test for ZIL to break. If it breaks that, I mean, this thing's got a lot of potential. So if it breaks that resistance zone, well, I guess that blue dash is about close enough to that next one there. Okay, so here's our next one, because there's a wick here, candle tops and bottoms here, candle tops here, tops and bottoms here. So small little confluence zone there and there. So we got 3 zones to break, but it's all really dependent on if we break this 200-day moving average, and we continue to see the uptrend push ahead of mainnet. I would suspect, though, that this zone right here could possibly be a top for mainnet news. So let's see how far that's got to go. 50-55% for ZIL ahead of mainnet news. It's quite possible because we are going to end up creating a rising wedge up to that point probably. And it's not going to snake and follow this line all the way up, of course. But the overall trend here is relatively steep. So at some point, it's got to come down and correct to fill out some gaps. Okay, so we got another potential profit there, and watch what happens when it gets up there. What is your favorite one, Noza? What are you talking about? Damn it! Trying to build that loom bag, trying to scalp that. Okay, this is what's scaring me just a little bit on Bitcoin here. Is we got a bear signal here on Bitcoin. We got the sell signal. Our MACD is looking a little shaky, but I'm also curious because of this little kickback right here. So I'm wondering, because of this kickback, if it's hinting that the moving averages could touch and bounce off one another, like here. See this little hint of a kickback right there, and then we got another push up. Let's see. So if we were looking at that, where did that go? Right here? Was that right here? Or wherever the hell it went. I just lost it. So I would also be very, very cautious of Bitcoin right now. But given the strength of the alts today, it's really, really tough. I know Sean was looking for a bit deeper than this 3518, or I'm sorry, this 3460. I think he's looking for something a good bit deeper down. I think one of his charts showed right around here on 3300 or something for another bottom. But this 12-hour MACD here is looking somewhat bullish. A little bit of mixed signals here. And I say that because look how it's kind of zigzagging and trying to make its way around like it did here. So it could just bounce around and then as these two lines get closer together, they could cross and pump. Or not pump, but you know, get a little push. So we still have to be cautious of Bitcoin here because we don't know what this little bastard could do. Bouncing around on different time frames. This is kind of scary right here. The 7 MA here could cross bearish below the 20-day moving average, even though we got a buy signal, a fresh buy signal here. So we really need to hold this support zone here, and this needs to get some kind of weird, monstrous push to kick that 7 MA back up, or this could get ugly. So let's keep that in mind this time, because the last 3 or 4 live streams we always looked at Bitcoin at the end, but last week when we did the last live stream, we didn't look at Bitcoin, and then we went to bed that night and woke up to a sea of blood. So we're keeping it in mind this time, and we're looking at it, so we're watching it. So everybody is now aware to keep Bitcoin in mind, of course. I think I have to go to coin signals now. Print more tether. Knows that I can probably do some live scalping this weekend. Tonight was supposed to be gym night, but there was so much going on in the market today. I figured it's like, okay, you know what? We might better save the gym for tomorrow night or something and do live stream tonight so we can get some updates out. Okay, so we, wow, we pretty well nailed that damn B wave, didn't we? Con, shut your face. Okay, anyway, so we pretty well nailed that B wave. I don't think you were in it, Noza. I think you were just kind of on the sidelines watching, but that was pretty damn close. Not bad for a guy who doesn't EW. I'm still cool. And this was a pretty significant drop right here. So we're holding here above the 100-day, but let's see, where's my 7A? Here's my 7A, so 7-day moving average. So we still got a nasty rejection underneath the 20, and we're still quite bearish. So we may hit this target down here somewhere near this trend line as predicted. So if this is one that you are kind of following and watching on your own, and you have the same lines and all the stuff that I do, the same whatever, definitely keep a watch on this as well, because this is what I'm aiming for right here. I'm going to put this right here, this little gold pocket, because this would be the gold zone that I'd like to see if it's going to hold for a third time off the trend line to consolidate back up. So if you're watching this, Noza, and you got this plotted on your chart, I think you do, so I told you to kind of copy it. Definitely notify me if it gets into this golden pocket here, and we can take a look at it, reevaluate, and I may even pick up a bag here as well. Because this would be a very nice zone to pick up some support. Okay, Loom, what are you doing? Okay, so see here, this is how you can scalp. When you start to see these first little dips right here, don't panic and just sell, because look how the candle prices are holding above the 7-day moving average still, and the 7-day hasn't rounded out. So this is on the 15-minute time frame. So what happens is, as price comes down, 7-day moves up, and then the 7-day will push the price. So now if this is going to see a short-term little drop to come back down and consolidate, then the 7-day is going to round out like this. Price will probably not likely break the 265 zone. Or it could just moonshot as well too. But we watch what the 7-day does. So if that 7-day curls and rounds out, the 20-day is going to come up. And you see the path of the 100-day. So the 100-day will come up. And then you find your support zone, which will be roughly about right there. So this is what I'm going to be watching for now. So see, resistance, resistance, and we broke above. So now resistance becomes support. So now we're going to come down and roughly test the top of this to curl back up. But again, that's also assuming that the 7-day rounds out that corner and then comes down for a short-term reset. So I'm going to be looking to see what happens here about 1265. What'd I do with it? Okay, right here. Loom. Okay, so not much of a resistance here. So it may come up to about 1270 here, because there's also not a whole lot on the bids. And then look where your support is. So they're moving the walls up to hold a support here above 1240. So I was looking for 1265, so it may come up somewhere between 1265 and 1270 as a high of 1274. So if this comes up and rounds out and drops back, there's some walls of support at 1240, which is right here in between these two candles. And then you got this major support beneath it. See, right here, this is the 1220 zones. If I can find my damn chart. Okay. So that second support wall is right here, and then you got a first support wall right here, which I'm not really too fond of, but it is what it is. So I'm going to watch to see what happens right here for a scalp play on Loom if anybody is in it, but this is also a good lesson for any other coin that you're in, is to watch the relationship of the 7-day moving average. Okay, so either this just continues to pump up, or this comes up a little bit and pushes the price back up and then rounds out to come down. So when it rounds out to come down, I'm going to sell and then watch price action from there to see where I'm going to replace my buy. If I pick up even just a few coins, great, I'm picking up extra free coins. And that's how you build your bag. Okay, to build a brand new chart, okay, we can look at, well, let's look at WAN, because WAN actually has a lot of chart history. WAN has good chart history. So let's just delete everything and we can start fresh. Delete our hide our Bollinger Bands. Let's hide our moving averages either. I didn't delete them. I just, you know, hit the little hidden symbol. So now we're just looking at the candles themselves. Okay, so like I have said in a lot of the charts that we look at, probably quite all of them, is you want to look for, if you're building from scratch, you want to look for some sideways consolidation. Here, obviously, this part of the chart is in some heavy bear trend, heavy drops, so it's not safe to start laddering in buys or putting in buys. Now, what a lot of people will do is they'll see, so you can draw a trend line, like so. Now, here's what will get a lot of newbies. They'll see this, and then they'll FOMO in, and it's like, okay, well, this hit bottom, and it's going to pump. We're going to go way up here. Okay, this was just a, I don't want to say a false breakout, but this was a breakout to break the downtrend, and then it fell back to consolidate. So you want to look for a coin that is doing this motion here. You want to look for some sideways movement, like it's doing slightly now. Okay? So if you're starting fresh, you want to look for a coin that is entering sideways consolidation. Okay, and then you come down here to look at, you can look at your MACD. Let me get rid of the 4 kings here, because that may be that may confuse people. So you can just do a basic RSI. Okay, so judge and look at what your price action is doing on a high time frame. The higher you go, the more solid of a foundation you can get is, okay, this might be bottomed because your indicators are really, really low. Now, if this purple line here, your RSI was way up here on a high time frame like the daily, 2-day, 3-day, or whatever, obviously, definitely not a good time to get in. You can look at Vibe, for example, on it, because I bet you its daily RSI is high. So you want to look for something that is scraping the bottom here. You want to look for indicators that are bottomed out, and then build your chart from there. So when you've identified a coin that is bottomed or near bottomed, you just start looking for resistance zones. And as you hopefully you guys know how to do that if you kind of tuned in. If not, no biggie. Okay, so our first resistance zone would be here. Okay, and we look at that because we've got candle bottoms, candle tops. Let me zoom in. So you can see how all of these kind of nestled and create a shelf that the price did not break above. So you got all of this little confluent zone right here that provided a ceiling as the price did not break above. So this would be your first resistance zone. And again, what we're doing is we're not throwing in moving averages. We're not looking at L8 waves, Bollinger Bands, Ichimoku cloud, or anything. We're simply looking at our price action. What is our price doing? So this is coming out of a downtrend because it is not a steep downtrend like it is here. Okay, so our price is still leveling off. It's still coming down, but it's leveling off because the downtrend is not as steep. Okay, and then you just plot out where your resistance zones are. So of course we've already identified this as 1. You got another one here because the bottoms of these match the bottom of these, which come over and makes like a nice little zone in between these two candles. You got a bottom of a wick here, and then you got another resistance zone there. Okay, so this is just price action, and now we're identifying resistance zones. So here is a zone, and then here is a zone, and then here's a pretty heavy zone here. You could probably actually throw a line at the bottom there, because for the bottom of these candles that match up tops here. So this could be a pretty, a little bit heavier zone. Okay, so you've identified your resistance zones, and now you're essentially just waiting and watching what price action happens. So now you can, I guess you can start throwing in your moving averages. I use, of course, the 7-day moving average, the 20, and the 100 because these are what Binance defaults to. These are simple moving averages, not exponential moving averages. And there's not really much of a difference between the two, really. And I'll show you. If you're going to open my settings for me. Motherfucker. Why is it not pulling up my settings? Okay, whatever. We'll skip that. There's not too much of a difference between exponential and simple moving averages, especially on lower time frames. They're actually relatively close. I use the simple moving averages simply because that's what Binance defaults to. Okay, so you've identified your resistance zones. You're watching for price to find its bottom. So we want to watch again what happens with 7-day moving average. oops, and we watch that by how it responds to the price action. Okay, so we want, if it starts to curl and round out, then we know that we have found a bottom, especially on the high time frames. You want to look at high time frames for overall trend. Okay, so it's when the 7-day moving average rounds out, and even if you don't use moving averages and you just look at price, it'd be no different. See, these candles are starting to create a little bit of a shelf, so these candles could also move sideways as well. This would be a signal that this is forming a bottom. So then when the price just moves up, you've already identified your resistance zones. So now you just watch to see what happens as price comes up and hits. So let's again just kind of do a scenario without the moving averages. Okay, so let's just assume that this is the bottom. You see price moving up. You've identified this as a resistance zone. Okay, so price moves up. You see some struggle. You see some candles. Price candles move sideways, signaling that it's not breaking above this ceiling, kind of like it did right here, and it's going to come back down. Okay, so now it's not to assume that we're going to break this low and make a new low. So let's assume that we are breaking the downtrend, we're moving up in price, so we're going to look for support zones now. Where would we set a rebuy if this struggled up here? Again, this is just simple price action trading using support and resistance zones. Okay, so we've identified this first resistance zone, and let's just say we're catching some resistance, we're coming down, and once you see this rejection up here and you know that the price is coming down, you do the opposite as what you did with finding this resistance zones, and you find support zones. And you can do it the same way. So bottoms here, and a wick here, and do the same thing. You want to look for a pocket. So you got a bottom of a wick here and here and here. So then you just identify this as your support zone, and you can see how you got quite a bit of amount of candles that have made tops and bottoms within this zone. So now we go back to our brush and assume that price did reject up here and it's coming down. So now we reset our buy in here. Okay, now let's assume that price action has settled back into this box and it's made some sideways movement, and then it starts to move back up again. Now again, this is not even using any moving averages or any other indicator. This is just simply, actually let's do this. Let's take away all other indicators. This is just simply price action trading. Okay, so we've rejected, we've watched price. Price rejects here off of this resistance zone that we identified. Now we identify our support zone. Okay, we sell up here. Where do we want to rebuy? So we've identified a support zone. We're going to rebuy somewhere in here. And then we watch price kind of bounce around and consolidate and move sideways. It goes back up and something FA happens, you know, some good news comes out, pumps the price back up. And we watch what it does when it comes up here to this next zone here. Okay, so this is our next resistance zone, and let's say it does the same thing. Let's say it comes up here and rejects, and we sell, and then once again we look for a support zone. So we got a little bit of a support zone there, or it could also very well drop all the way back down here. Okay, so let's say this support zone doesn't hold, or you ladder a buy in here, you place a buy here, and then you place another buy here, and then it just moves up again like that. So this, you're watching the price action as they reach different resistance zones that you've identified, and then when you catch a rejection, you look beneath it to see where your support zones are, and it's the exact same concept. And then if you want to be all fancy and stuff, now look how price action has just developed a 5-wave L8 wave structure. This is why I don't get why everybody wants to do L8 waves and think they have to do L8 waves to be a successful trader. L8 waves are quite literally price action trading off of support and resistance zones, because each of these waves, what they do is they create these zones and they play off of these zones. This is why is like when you go in here, it's like, okay, well, we're gonna catch an A, B, C or something here. What are you doing when you're looking at your L8 wave structure, even going down when you want to look for buy zones? You're looking to your left at the history of the chart and you're looking for a support zone. That's all you're doing. So like we identified right here, exactly what I did. This would have been like a perfect ABC wave. So this was a support zone because you got some confluence here, bottom of a wick, and the top of a wick here. Then you would have caught a small bounce, and it wouldn't have gone all the way up back here. It would have just been a small bounce, and then a deeper correction down here to the tops of these candles and tops of these wicks or something. Just simple price action trading. Didn't use any other indicators. No RSI, no MACD or whatever. This is simple, just watching what the price does. I use the indicators just as a guide to kind of help guide my theory or my prediction. It's like, okay, well, our RSI is bottomed out because we're sitting here just barely above 30. So this is a really low RSI. Okay, our MACD, got a little reset, is looking good. So that means our price should, kind of bottom out here and start to move sideways to consolidate before moving up. All right, what'd you show me here? Oh, nothing. You're just throwing in some emojis. Okay, I thought you were sharing something, but I mean, this is really this is just simple trading. So the first thing that you want to do, and you can do it with any coin. Give me a coin. Somebody throw out a coin, and we can do a whole new one. Actually, you know what? Oaks. I was looking at Oaks this morning. Ooh, that's old. Okay, so for Oaks, for example, again, let's hide all. Let's hide the Bollinger Bands. Let's hide the moving averages. Okay, so we're just looking at the price action and history of the chart. So this one actually has some chart history, and it's been riding this bottom. So when you're looking here, okay, well, Oaks has created a little shelf right here. This is a nice support. If you look to the left, oh, look. Okay, so it's been in this area before and has held the support before. And if you look for a little bit further at the history, it's like, oh, look, we can drag this all the way out. Okay, so we can confirm or tell ourselves from a fresh, brand new chart that this is the bottom. No, so we didn't do waves. I'll do it tomorrow. I think wifey is ready for me to hop off of here or something. I don't know. Okay, but so Oaks here. This is just a brand new chart. If you look to the left of a chart when you're looking at one fresh, if it has history, great, because it makes it easier to identify bottoms and supports. So you got a bottom here. You got a bottom here, and you can see how we never broke below this zone, and this little zone here made a slightly higher low than it did down here. So it didn't quite come all the way down, but this looks good. I like Oaks, actually. This looks really good. And again, there's no moving averages on here, but you can see the price action candles. This is the daily, so this is 3 days, 2.5, 3 days, whatever, because this looks like a brand new candle. So at least 2 days worth of price action moving right here, and this looks like it is in an uptrend. So you do the exact same thing. All right, where are my resistance zones? Let me get my red out, horizontal line. Okay, so if you look to the left, okay, so we got some tops here. We got a lot of tops here, and those match up with these tops over here. Okay, so let's plot a line right there. Okay, so this is a resistance zone. Wick, some candle bottoms and a combination of bottoms and tops here, whatever. Some tops here, and you got some tops of some wicks here. So here's a good first resistance zone. All right, let's plot out another one. Here, okay, so here we got a top here that matches up with the bottom there, a top there, bottom there. And I know I can throw these down kind of quick, but you know, I'm just used to seeing these a whole lot. And you guys, once you guys practice spotting these supports and resistance zones, they'll become a lot easier and faster with you guys too. You'll get the hang of it. But anyways, top here matches up with the bottom there, matches up with the top there, and bottom here. Okay, let's throw down another one. If we can move up, you got top there, bottom there, tops and bottoms here, bottom there, and then all the way over, catch a wick. All right, so we've identified at least 3 different resistance zones. Okay, well, we're already here, so if you're just looking for a little quick scalp. What's Loom doing? You guys screwing me on Loom? Yep, you guys are screwing me on Loom. Okay. That's okay. I love you guys. Overall trend is bullish, so if I missed a few percent, no big deal. I'm not going to die. Okay, so these look like some pretty good profit zones right here. You may catch another one right there even, because you got a nice little confluence right there and some wicks tops here, so we can throw that in as another zone. Now, like we saw with TNT, let me throw up TNT real quick. Like we saw with TNT, I did the exact same thing that I just did with Oaks. Okay, so I identified a bottom trend because I saw 3 bounces off a trend line, and then price moved away from the trend line and went sideways. And this is again here on the daily. So this was telling me, this little sideways movement right here was telling me that we are creating a bottom here. So I think the call that we did last week or something a couple of days ago was around like 320. Just slightly late, or I said under 320 was a good buy. So then what I did, like I just did with Oaks, I just threw down some resistance zones to at least identify them. Where are they? Okay, so that's what we just did with Oaks. Now if I can go back and find my damn TNT chart, I'm going to move this over. Okay, so we threw down resistance zones because these are resistance zones, just like we did in Oaks. There, that's better. Okay, because again, you got tops here, and you got little tops here and bottoms here that match up with all of this here. So, and then you got the tops are here and the bottoms here, and then this is, so this was a zone, another top and all that there, and then some more here, and then of course we weren't expecting more than a 50% pump on anything because the market looked like shit. So we weren't expecting huge pops. But even if we had plotted another sale zone right here off the tops of all of this and this here, this still would have been another resistance zone to hit. So if we had plotted that there, even still, that would have been 80% profit. So once you throw down your resistance zones, now all you do is you simply just watch price action. Okay, so like I was showing you with, what was that, WAN? You know, WAN could have come, or TNT rather could have came and done the same thing that I showed you with WAN, but it didn't. Obviously, it just blew right past all targets that we had plotted and just went to some outrageous moonshot number. So you never really know how high or hard a coin is going to pump. The only thing that you can do is at least identify where your resistance zones are for a coin, just like we're doing here. There's another pocket there, another pocket there, and then, you know, for all we know, like TNT, this could see a monstrous pump, and I think Oaks has a bit of a history of it. Well, maybe not. I don't even know much about the project, to be honest with you. I'm just trading off the chart here. So the only thing that you can do is, once you've identified where your bottom is and you see the price action forming a bottom, as you see this sideways movement, and now you see the price starting to move back up after this sideways, this is called consolidation. When it moves sideways like this and it's boring and everybody wants to, you know, dump it and get rid of it because it's boring and not moving, this is actually when you're supposed to be buying and holding. I know nobody holds more than 32 seconds around here, but I mean, yeah. So now this is just in the hands of price action. So again, if we were to play this completely off of price action, no Elliott waves, no moving averages, not even RSI or MACD or anything, then you just simply watch what happens as price comes to each of these zones. This could pump all the way up here. That's not a frowny face. This is a happy face. See, this is a smile because it's smiling at you. Well, no, I mean, it may not be a 2-month hold. I just plotted these targets out here just to show you the percent gain potential. That doesn't mean it's going to, you know, come out here all the way for a month or for May or February or March even before it reaches these targets. Because, I mean, hell, look at TNT. We called this just last week and it did, you know, 90% or something in a single day. Oaks may do the same thing. It actually kind of looks like a very similar structure too. Note this area right here. Note this real close. And then that's a very similar structure. Damn. Damn. No, Noza, I didn't buy a bag of Phantom yet. I completely forgot about the coin, to be honest with you. I don't have the slightest idea what it's doing. But this is essentially how you can build a chart from scratch. The first thing that you want to do is you want to identify where your bottoms are, and you can do that. Or where you can do that by looking to the left. Now, if it's not at a bottom, what's one that's pumped recently? Let's look at Zil moving again. Let's look at Quark Chain, for example. This coin is about to royally just piss me off because I think November we were looking for this zone and we forgot about it. And then here again, off of this green line here, I was looking for this support zone again and then once again forgot about it. Okay, so like I was showing you with WAN and Oaks, how you can play price action off of resistance zones. So this was a resistance zone. Let me get rid of this here. And let me get rid of Bollinger Bands and that. So again, we're just playing price action. Okay, price action comes up, and then we see the rejection here because see how these, just like I was talking about in WAN, how these candles would ride out flat before coming down. So there's some rejection right here. So that is how you can identify when a coin is reaching its ceiling and looking to come down. So then we just turned and looked beneath us to find zone of support, which we did here because if we look down and to the left at history, 2 candle tops meet 2 candle tops there, and then as you see they met here, and then if we had identified our next support or next resistance zone up would have been up here. and you could have built your bag again, and then again we see the rejection here, and then we look beneath us for support. So now, because this zone right here once was a resistance, it now becomes a support. As we see here, it came back and found support at the bottom of this resistance here. Now, of course, it did this other little pump thingy here, but you could have sat this little part out and just rebought here, and then now it's moving back up in an uptrend. So now, cork chain, if it continues this pattern up, its next resistance zone is going to be up here somewhere. Something like that. So this is how you can build your bag if you're buying at a bottom. You can identify the bottom, plot out your resistance zones, watch price action as they come to each resistance zone, and then once you identify your rejection points or see that it's rejection in the resistance zone, just find your support zones next, and then just set your rebuy. You don't want to set it at the bottom though. You might want to set it just a little bit higher to make sure that you get filled, because other people are going to be wanting to get filled too. Look at ZIL. Am I looking at the chart or the order books? Okay, this is definitely, okay, I think somebody asked about how to identify order books as well. So this is no doubt not a legit wall. This is meant, and you see how it's not here at the top either to start buying. This is a push wall. It is a singular wall, and it's a big wall. As you see, it's a big 10 Bitcoin wall. So this is not a legit, somebody's trying to buy 10 Bitcoins worth of coins. This wall right here is simply meant to force buyers to buy above it. So it's forcing newbies to buy above it. This could be a bot, this could be a market maker, this could be a whale. Up and see, look at that. You just saw it disappear. I told you guys that wasn't legit. You guys saw that shit live. Woohoo! Sorry, got a little excited there. You guys got to see something cool live. How you can spot fake walls. So singular big walls just out in space like that by itself, they're not legit. Now these would be legit sell walls or resistance zones because you have multiple of them stacked above one another. So this would be a legit resistance wall. I don't like that. Actually, you know what? I think we've been looking at Doc all day for some legit buy walls. These would be legit buy walls because you got multiples stacked on top of one another. Now, as of course the price moves up, so will these walls because obviously somebody, whoever's trying to get filled down here, is not getting filled. So they're going to move their walls up, and of course it's going to be a competition between whoever's got these. Like, okay, well, I want, you know, 1.5 Bitcoins worth down here at 226. I got all these assholes above me trying to get filled. I'm not going to get filled. I'm going to pull my buy, and I'm going to set it up here above them. Well, now this guy down here says, oh, you dick, you just jumped in front of me on top of these other guys. I'm going to pull my buy, and I'm going to go over the top of you. And then it just becomes like a, not a Jenga game, or like a block building game. These walls get pulled, they get pushed up here. This wall gets pulled, it gets pushed up there. So now the walls get pushed higher, and they just get chewed. So it's all a game. It's all a game. We were looking at ZIL. Let me go back. So I'm glad we caught that in time. I'm glad. Thank you, Keith, I think, for throwing out the suggestion that, hey, there's a big buy wall there. So we got to check it out, and we got to see that that was actually a fake wall, as you guys all saw. So don't get faked out when you're looking at order books like that and you see one single big wall on the buy or one single big wall somewhere on the sell, because it's meant to fake you out. So you don't want to get shook by single walls like that. You still want to look at where your resistance zones are. So ZIL probably won't meet resistance until 673, and you can look at the books and back that up to see if there's anything at 673, and there is not. At 650 there is. So just below that, okay, let me put this down here with the chart. Okay, so 650. Okay, 650 can still work as a resistance, because we're almost at the tops of these candles, and you got 4 candle tops here, 2 wick tops here, and a wick here. So it didn't quite reach this upper zone here. But again, this is why we call it a zone. Okay, so 650, I would be looking at possibly what can happen up here, because this is a pretty big wall. You got these walls here, it's got to chew through. So these walls will be kind of heavy to break through, so you might catch a short-term correction once it gets up here, unless some monster FOMO or something kicks in. Yeah, it might possibly need to retrace. And then, see, now we're looking at daily here. If we were to zoom down to a 15-minute, okay, so 15-minute is showing some struggle. So, again, this is price action. We're looking for rounded. Again, we're not using moving averages. We're not using RSI or MACD or whatever. We're just simply looking at what the price candles do, or are doing rather. Okay, so like here we caught a little bit of rejection, and we caught some consolidation for another push up. This one may either do the same thing or it may come down. But again, you have to be prepared, because if you look left, this is a little bit of a resistance zone, as it has to break this high at 622. Looks like it wicked up here to 625, which met these other 2 wicks here. So it looks like it's rejecting here. So then what we do is, all right, if this is going to reject, where are our support zones? So now you just turn around and you find where your zones are. So there's one, because the bottom's here. Could come down just a little bit more here. And it could come down there as well. Now, if you were looking to see what kind of drop that was, 3.5% drop there, and 5.5% drop there. So now this, you see all of this sideways movement. This is a really heavy support zone. So you can also consider that as a possible drop too. Now, will it drop about 7.5%? Probably not likely, because then you can just turn and look at higher time zones. Okay, so we got a nice parabolic move here. We met our resistance here. This doesn't look as bad on the 2 hours. It does the 15-minute, of course. So now you're painting yourself a picture of what is happening with price. So I would look here for support 593 if it comes and rejects. So you want to see the price candles move sideways a little bit more, and you want to see them start to drop before you really make a decision on cashing out and selling. If you take a little bit of profit here, if you take half your bag as profit, that's fine, because then if it turns and keeps pumping anyways, well, you still got half your bag in, and you can sell at the next resistance zones. But if you take half of your bag for profit, see, that was a nice little quick pump right there. So if you do get a rejection here and you're still holding on to half your bag, you take half of that position and you can rebuy here or rebuy here. You really just at this point watch to see if price flattens out and then comes down. So then if it comes down and you're confirming, then all you do is you just look below for your resist or support zones, and then you just reset your buy, because now it's going to consolidate and come back up. Now you picked up more free coins and your bag is bigger. So when it goes back up again, you're making more profit than you did before had you just held and wait till it got back to this zone. Now, one thing to note, when you're looking at support zones, okay, say you set a buy right there off of this support zone. Now let's say this support zone doesn't hold and it drops a little bit more. Now, I think we talked about this in another live stream. One thing that you guys don't want to do is you don't want to get in the habit of, oh, I don't want to sell for a loss. That's great. Nobody wants to sell for a loss, but your goal is to maximize profit and practice risk management. So if you've identified this as a support zone right here, and let's just say you've identified this as a support zone right there, and let's say you bought right here and the price continues to drop, do not be afraid to sell here and then rebuy lower here at the bottom of this next support zone, because you don't want to take a loss. So let's just say you bought right there in the middle of this zone at 585 and the price continues to dump and you held because you don't want to sell in a loss. Well, now you are in a loss, because now if price comes back and consolidates at the bottom of this box here at 550, you're sitting at 5.5% loss, whereas you could have sold for, you know, a 1% loss or 1.5% loss or something, and then just rebought lower. Because if you buy a support zone and it breaks that support zone and then you rebuy the support zone below it, okay, so right there. Okay, so if you bought here, it breaks this support zone and we're continuing down and you sold for 1.5% loss. All right, let's say you rebought at the bottom of this next support zone. You watch the price come down and consolidate to round out to start moving back up again, and you rebought. Well, there's your 1.5% that you lost from selling up here. So now you're at break even with more coins because you bought lower. So now you're at break even right here. So now by the time you get back to your original buy-in, you're at a 4 to 4.5% profit. So don't get into the mentality that you don't want to sell for a loss because you bought in a little too high. If you know, and the first thing you want to do, and that's starting to get ugly right there, if you know where your support zones are, and again, we are not even looking at moving averages or any other indicator. This is just simply what's the price doing. Okay, so if you know where your support zones are and you see it break your first support zone, sell and rebuy lower. It may only come here and you can ladder in, put a buy here, you can put a buy here in the middle and another buy here. So even if your first two buys fill, but your third one doesn't, and let's just say it comes here to the middle, fills you, and then comes up, but misses your last buy here, well then pull that buy and then just rebuy whenever it starts to go back up again. See, this is part of the mentality of trading, the psychological aspects of it is first thing, you want to understand before even getting into advanced stuff like Elliott waves and expanded flats and I don't know, Hail Mary plays, 4th and 3, sack to quarterback or something, I don't know, is just I learn basic price action. Learn your supports and resistance zones and watch just what the price does. Because if you see, again, right here, look right here, okay? So price came here. If you bought down here, or if you're just even looking at this, and then you watching price come up, look what it did. If you look to the left, you would have identified this as a resistance zone, and you saw some struggle here, so price does not break above this zone. So then you sell, and then you see price falling back. All right, well now look below, where's our support zone? Okay, so we got a little bit of some stuff going on here. Looks like these candles kind of made like a little shelf. Okay, so I'm going to draw a line and start playing connect the dots, and if you just draw that over, all right, well now your shelf carries over. Okay, so I'm going to set a buy roughly right here at the same price, and then look what it did. And then it moved into sideways consolidation, and then it moved up for the next leg, next leg as they call it. All right, so our next major resistance zone, or next drop, was right here. And if you look to the left where that dropped, okay, well, I got some candle bottoms here, and I got some candle tops here, so this made like a nice little nestled zone right here. Got a lot of candles kind of bunched up in here, so this might be a good resistance zone here, and you kind of see it here too. Okay, so now we've identified, all right, well, our price, we rebought here. Our next resistance zone up is here. So let's watch price action when we get to this zone again. And we see, once again, we rejected. And then we look for a support zone below it. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and draw that line. But again, if you look to the left, now let's just say we're up here and we sold, and we want to, and we see the rejection, and we want to find where we're going to rebuy. We look to the left. Oh, we got some tops here. Oh, there's a wick top there. Ooh, we got a wick bottom and a wick bottom. Okay, so there's one. Okay, and come down a little bit further. We got some bottoms here, a wick bottom here, tops here. So you want to look for where price stops and starts at roughly the same point throughout the history of the chart. And then to find that, you just look left, because I mean this is where the history is. Okay, so we didn't quite reach, and this is again why I was showing you playing your support zones like we were doing on Quark Chain. So you identified two support zones, and you rebought here, and you were possibly watching this as another support zone. Okay, well this one held the first support zone and didn't break to come down to the second one. So we bought this first support zone, and it actually turned and bounced. Did not come down to the second support zone like Quark Chain did, or whatever coin we were just looking at. So just because you plot a support zone doesn't mean it's going to break that support zone and go directly to the lower one. So this is why we play the zones. Same with resistance zones going up. We could come up here to this first target right here on Oaks, for example, and reject. Or we can come blow past this one and come up here all the way to this third one before we reject. Or, like TNT just said, screw your resistance zones. I'll raise you one way the hell up here. Damn, did this just pump again? Is this one still going? Okay, anyways, whatever. So, holy crap, we've been going like 2 hours now. Probably time to stop, so I can get these posted and get you guys, get these updates out there for you guys. So I'm going to stop there. I think that was a pretty good lesson for now. I hope I, easily explained everything that I was trying to explain, and I hope that made it better to understand as far as at least steps to setting up a chart. Identifying where a bottom could be, throwing down some resistance zones, and at least practicing and learning and understanding where they are and how to find them. And then from there, it's quite literally just a simple matter of watching price action, and for me and for a lot of other people, using indicators only as a guide to back up your thought process. So like here, if we weren't paying attention to indicators, we've already identified our bottom. We've already identified this is consolidation because we're moving sideways in a very small range. We've already identified our resistance zones. Okay, so this looks like we're in an uptrend, and our indicators back that up because indicators are pushing bullish here. And of course our cheat of an indicator phalanx, which basically tells us when to buy and sell, also says buy. And our RSI and Stoch's RSI, other indicators and whatever, are also bullish. So when I chart, this is what I do. This is exactly what I do. And this is exactly how I trade. And it is very, very, very simple trading. Because like I showed you guys with Elliott waves, all Elliott waves, look, I can show you 5-wave structure right here. Probably something like that, that. All TA, whether it's Elliott waves, Ichimoku cloud, all of it. I don't feel like changing the settings because crypto settings are a little bit different. But even all TA is based off of price action and supports and resistances. Because look here on the Ichimoku cloud. So this would be the top of the cloud here. And you see we got a resistance. You see, and then if you look left, it's a support. Top of the cloud here, rejected this candle, rejected all of this here. This Como twist right here was another resistance zone that we had plotted, and you see how it held support right here. But this is kind of this is somewhat supposed to be predicting the future in the past, if that makes sense. So this uptrend right here, this bullish push, is actually this signal right here. And then you see it twist back to go bearish and twisted red, which was this downtrend was. So we're going to watch to see another twist again for these lines to flip, and then this cloud turn green again somewhere over here. Because right now our price action is looking a little bullish. But, you know, again, you can see how top of the cloud was resistance here, top of the cloud was resistance here. This line was a support if you look back to the left and all of that stuff. So the point is all TA, all technical analysis, all indicators, whatever, all styles are all based around the same thing, which is price action, support, and resistance zones. The simplest trading you can possibly do, the less nerve-wracking, is also probably the most effective. Yes, simple but powerful. Exactly. Thank you, Keith. All right, guys, I'm hopping off here. My mouth is kind of numb for talking for 2 hours straight, and I got cold dinner sitting over here that wifey made me that I got to go reheat now. So I'll throw these charts out there. I'll throw this live stream out there, and then I'm calling it a night, and I will see y'all in the morning.